My name is Reverend Mariana Harris. I am in Vancouver, Canada, and I want to acknowledge that I live on the unceded land of the Coast Salish peoples, the Musqueam, the Tsleil-Waututh, and the Squamish nations. Thank you for joining us for the 9th Kumi Now online gathering. Before we begin, we have a few housekeeping points to cover so that this session can run as smoothly as possible. This session is being broadcast live on Facebook. If you do not wish to appear, please turn off your video feed. We would also love it if you could quickly share the Facebook post on Facebook so that others may join. We will be muting everyone during the session except those speaking. If you wish to speak, please use the raise hand option under participants or indicate in the chat to Kumi team. Individuals will not be able to unmute themselves. If you wish to ask a question of the speakers, please type it into the chat box. When it comes to questions at the end of the session, we will use questions shared in the chat or from the questions received earlier by email. If you have any technical issues, please use the chat to message Kumi team privately, and we will try to help you with them. We hope that you will find this session interesting and informative. As people join the meeting, I'd like to again welcome everyone to this online gathering. As we wrap up our second month of these gatherings, we want to thank you all for spending your time with us, and to thank all of the organizations and activists that have joined us on the journey. I'll remind you at the end of the session as well, but registration for our August sessions is now open at kuminow.com online. Next week, we have a session celebrating a talented group of young women Palestinian filmmakers, followed by sessions focused on youth detention, annexation of the West Bank, and life in Gaza under the blockade, and art as resistance. Kumi Now exists to connect activists around the world with the organizations and activists working in Palestine, and to provide the information and techniques you need to make a difference. Today, we have the pleasure of working with the Women in Black movement, a collective of women around the world focused on a common mission, but with a philosophy of activism flexible enough to make itself heard around the world as we learn about the lives of women under conflict. But first, before we get to our guests from Women in Black, I'd like to invite Omar Harami to give us an update of what is going on in Palestine.
Good evening or good morning, depending where you are. My name is Omar Harami, and I will be giving a short update as usual on what's happening in the country. So please bear with me as I share the screen. It seems it has become a tradition to have some computer problems. There has been many things happening already on the ground, unfortunately, in both Palestine and Israel. I will start with an update on COVID-19 that is affecting the whole world at the moment. But unfortunately, Palestine and Israel rank number 6 with the highest number of cases per capita in the world. This is very huge. Already there are 4 healthcare facilities in Israel that have reached their capacity, including the biggest hospital in Israel. In Palestine, there are huge numbers of cases, and things seem to be out of control. There has been, for some time, there has been some tensions continue to be on the northern border of Israel, especially with the Golan Heights, the occupied Golan Heights, and Syria, Lebanon. Yesterday, Israel announced that there was, that they have foiled an attempt by Hezbollah to infiltrate into Israel. There are expectations that Hezbollah, or certain factions, would retaliate to attacks by Israel over by air raids that have happened in Syria, targeting a number of targets. So some expect a war to break out. We hope not. We already have enough crises already in the country. In Palestine, for some people who are following the news, it usually does not make headlines. Most of the public sector, Palestine has been affected like the rest of the world with economic crisis. But in addition, the PA has refused to deal with the Israeli government after Israel announced that they plan to go ahead with annexation. And this means that the PA is no longer collecting the tax revenue. They're completely boycotting the Israeli government, and most staff have not been receiving their salaries for a number of months. The EU has given a small donation, or it's a big donation, it's 23 million euros, but does not really solve the whole problem. So some people are expecting to receive some money, especially that we are approaching the Muslim Eid that is supposed to be on Friday. Settler attacks are on the rise. I don't think that they've reached this high level in the near last year. So there were a group of Palestinian cyclists who were going on a traditional route with their bicycle, and they got attacked by a number of settlers. They were badly beaten, 3 brothers and their friends. So this is one incident out of so many different incidents. A few days ago, a mosque in Ramallah and El Bire was attacked by settlers. They came in the middle of the night, burned the mosque, wrote some hate graffiti on it. Suspicion is that it is the price tag behind the settler youth movement is behind these attacks. And today there was also a very sad incident close to Oja in Jericho. A Palestinian shepherd went out to the fields close to a settlement just to feed the goats, and when the goats came back, they were all poisoned. It seems that there was 40 goats and sheep were died. All of his herd died. And suspicion is that Israeli settlers, or the owner, Ahmad Zawahri, is accusing settlers that they have poisoned the fields. They have continuously harassed him and threatened to do so in previous weeks. So he has lost all of his livestock, especially at this time before the Muslim Eid. It's very devastating. One thing that is very shocking in the last few months, especially the last 2 weeks in Palestine, there is a high rise in number of violent incidents in the Palestinian areas, whether they are in the West Bank or inside Israel or in Gaza. Family disputes, lots of murder cases. It is extremely disturbing. There are different factors. Some people are trying and institutions to analyze what is causing all of this violence to erupt, to explode at this rate. Nobody really has come up with a scientific study, but it's very troubling and very troubling for children, for families. It's almost every day we hear about homicide in Palestine, in the Palestinian cities and towns. This is very sad and very disturbing. Some of you who are following the news have heard, a few days ago, we heard the shocking news that Israeli police came into the house of Suhail Khoury and his wife Rania Elias and arrested them. For the people who do not know them personally, I guess many of you know them personally. They had the two important cultural, or the most important cultural institutions in Jerusalem, with their main mission is to promote Palestinian culture in East Jerusalem. So they've been very active with music and culture, and using art as a way of nonviolence. However, they came under attack and they were arrested from their home, taken into their offices. In addition to the head of their projects was also arrested that day. They remained for 12 hours under interrogation. They are now they are forced to stay home with and with limited access to the outside world. Not home arrest, but with plenty of restrictions. This is, I mean, all of the institutions in East Jerusalem and in Palestine, we feel that there is a shrinking space of freedom. Things are not easy. It is not easy to operate, especially if you are really, if you are engaged with exposing injustices that are happening in Palestine and Israel. A part of our solidarity with Suhail and Rania and the staff of Yabus and Edward Said Conservatory, we are also aware and conscious about how this would really impact. It seems that there is no taboos for Israel to attack the different institutions. So this is in a major way is a game changer for us. For the people who are also follow the news, it makes it every now and then. I don't believe that there is enough media attention given to the demonstrations that are happening in Israel. It is mainly young people, not only, but young people are going out to the streets. They're not satisfied with how the government is happening, or specifically with Benjamin Netanyahu, especially that he is under he's under investigation for cases of corruption and mismanagement. Unemployment rates are high. Part of it is because of Israeli policy. Part of it is also because of the COVID-19. Young people are finding it inside Israel, finding it very difficult to make ends meet. People are frustrated and they want a change. Most of these demonstrations at their core, they are demanding changes within the Israeli society. Very few would also link it to the Israeli-Palestinian conflict or the injustice that the Palestinians are facing. However, I mean, it's important steps. Many people are very hopeful that there will be a political change inside Israel, especially nowadays when Israel is very much controlled by the far right. It is the majority of the Knesset are extremists and not very supportive of a just solution to Palestine and Israel. So in a nutshell, I mean, there's plenty of things that are happening in the country. There are so many reasons for us to feel concerned, to feel worried, to feel pessimistic, and there's very space that people can find hope, especially that especially for the people who were hoping that the COVID-19 crisis, with all of its ugliness, would bring people together, even if they've seen themselves as enemies or competitors. Unfortunately, that's not the case. It seems that the COVID-19 is also bringing the worst of us as human beings. We Palestinians are feeling the brunt of the occupation, and things just keep getting worse and worse and worse. It is as if somebody wants a third intifada or violence to break again in the country. The decision makers are not being wise or respecting the human rights of people in the land. So by this, I'm just going to stop sharing my screen. I want to thank everybody who's been taking part in the Kumi sessions. We really appreciate your support. And I really feel so excited. We have Bishop Elias Shakur with us, following us. So thank you for being with us today, Bishop. And hopefully we will get a chance to speak with you later on. But now my understanding is that we're moving to Women in Black, and I turn things back to you, Mariana.
Okay, I would like to introduce to you Aliyah and Ruth from Women in Black. We're doing this with our fingers crossed. Oh, I see. I just found out we lost Ruth. We don't have Aliyah. All right.
Oh, we've lost Ruth and
we don't have Aliyah. So Omar, back to you.
Yes. Thank you for handing things back to me, especially when I don't know what I'm going to be supposed to be saying.
Make it up.
Make it up.
I'm sure the techie guys are working on it, so.
Yeah, I see Ryan and Mark working hard on it. So we had Ruth earlier, correct? Mark, not your. Okay.
That was a yes.
Okay. So maybe I'll start by sharing my my first encounter with Women in Black. I'm not gonna, because I'm still hoping that they will be joining us. And here's Aliyah actually. Aliyah, are you with us?
Oh, she's trying to call in, Ryan says.
Okay. So my first encounter was I was helping with the first young adult conference for Sabil, and this was around 2006. And it was somebody recommended that we should join Women in Black. Women in Black is a group of Israeli women who have decided to be dressed in black and to protest on a weekly basis. Basically, usually in Jerusalem and in different cities. Here it is every Friday. I know in different countries they have a different day that they hold these sessions. And they demonstrate, they gather in a specific square and they say no to the occupation. So they are basically a group of people who are fed up with the occupation and think it is time to, somebody needs to, then there's community need to come and say that this is unacceptable and unethical. So I have to admit, the one who chose the name Woman in Black is brilliant. It's such an amazing name. It catches people's attention. I don't know, it's at that time, or some people might have seen Men in Black. I don't know if you've seen this movie. It was very popular with Will Smith. It's a special police department that fights aliens and so on. It was really, it was really a big success. And so with the name, it was very interesting, and we were all very excited. And we thought we're going to see serious action. And when we went to join them in their demonstration, we arrived a few minutes early. They were really rushing and giving us these big signs with the occupation, free Palestine, and beautiful slogans. And what was amazing that they were not very young, but they were extremely energetic. It was actually my first encounter with a Holocaust survivor who was also demonstrating. They were very hospitable, very courageous. And it was really amazing to see, just to monitor the cars that were driving by. Some would beep in support and say, you know, it's a good job what you're doing. And unfortunately, many were using bad words and swearing at all of the group, but especially also the Woman in Black. So apart that, I mean, these were like this wonderful group of grandmothers, very energetic, who were still as children dreaming of a better future. They were also very rebellious. And I mean, that's a beautiful thing to have, you know, people who are very rebellious and of an older age. Because they reminded me of my grandmother. My grandmother was exactly this category. She was very rebellious and always confronting the soldiers. Always when we get in trouble with the Israeli army, she'd be coming and defending us. And sometimes even when things were calm and peace, she would also start a problem. I think that's the beauty of grandmothers, at least within our culture. And that's why when we ever read within, at least within in the New Testament with stories and parables, the group of older women in the Bible are always seen as people who give powerful stories and powerful messages. It's like the widow and the unjust judge. They are always proactive, they're always making for me. They are not within our traditional understanding of older women who would be more as helpless, but they are people who are energetic and powerful. So yes.
I see that Christine McMillan says she's part of a Women in Black movement somewhere. I wonder if we'd let her talk for a minute while we're waiting for Aliyah. Christine, where are you?
Was very bad, Marianne. Doing a good job.
You weren't very bad.
You don't have to be polite. You don't. It's okay.
Well,
Christine, yes.
Maybe she's a grandmother. I don't know.
No, I'm joking. Yes, Christine. Yes, Mark, could you accept Christine, or I'll? So
yeah.
Christine,
yes, yeah. I am a grandmother, and I think all the women that stand outside the cathedral on the first day every month are also women. I wasn't one of the founders, but I think it goes back about 13 years, and we have never missed a month. And over the past months, one of our members has been going down to the place to stand there. And I'm sorry, my son's dog is barking. That's why my mic is usually on mute. But the rest of us have been meeting on Zoom.
You found a way around the pandemic.
Absolutely, yes. Yeah.
Great.
And we wear black, usually white, and just stand in silence with our banners in solidarity with mothers, grandmothers, sisters, aunts, all women who have lost partners, sons, fathers, brothers, uncles, anybody to war. And at least 2 of our members have more than once been to Israel and helped with the Palestinian olive harvest.
And what town, city did you say you're in? Oh, she got muted again. Okay.
Yeah, sorry.
What city did you say you're in?
It's Portsmouth in England, the United Kingdom.
Okay, great. Good to hear.
And we're actually unusual in that we have 2 cathedrals, and we actually happen to stand outside the Roman Catholic one because it's opposite our naval base. And rather amusingly, at a recent Churches Together meeting, my Roman Catholic colleagues who was aware that this demonstration happened every month actually thought we were demonstrating against the Roman Catholics, which is not at all what we were doing, but there you go.
If we're still waiting, I wonder if we could unmute Andre Duguay, who said that she also was part of Women in Black. Mark?
Yes,
There we are. Tell us your experience. Where are you?
I am in Harrow, which is Greater London, and we do a vigil every Wednesday, usually, but because of COVID, we stopped for a while. And at the moment, I mean, every week, somebody actually still sends a leaflet. We give out leaflets normally. So we do that online, but at the moment, 4 women have been able to go back. We are near Trafalgar Square, and because they can get there on a bike, they have gone there for a few weeks now. So there is a little group, and they have a banner, but they don't give out leaflets, but they've got them in a box so people can take them if they want. Some of us, like me, for example, I haven't been because it would mean going by public transport, taking the tube, and I don't want to still at the moment. I feel it's too early and still not very good. So it's very frustrating not to go because normally I go every Wednesday. Yeah, so hopefully we can start properly again. Thank you.
Well, it sounds like you all are very persistent there in the actions that you're taking.
Yes, we have, there is a woman who does the leaflets every week, and we have different themes. I can't remember which one it is tomorrow, but we've had recently stop selling arms to Saudi Arabia. We do nuclear weapons. We are we have somebody who is very involved in nuclear weapons, who is part of a movement against them in the world. And yeah, so we do violence against women and different themes as we go along. And of course, we have a regular one on Palestine and Israel once a month. We do that.
Tell me, what got you started doing this?
I can't remember when it all started. Personally, I can't remember either. A few years now. I must have been doing it for quite a few years, I think. But I know it started much before the time that I joined, but I can't tell you the date, sorry.
That's okay. Okay, Bonnie, there was a Bonnie, I think, who's also, we've got quite a few women in black here.
Right.
Mark, can you find Bonnie? I'm sorry, I don't know her last name. Maybe not. or Kate Scott? Oh, there's Bonnie. Good.
Backwards, yeah.
Okay, Bonnie, tell us about your experience with women in black.
Oh, so what did you do? Say it again.
Tell us about your experience with women in black.
Oh. Huh. Interesting. Interesting. Uh-huh. Very interesting.
What city do you live in?
So how are you doing?
Good, good. I think we'll move on and see if we can find Kate
How's the
Scott.
family?
Good. Can you find a Kate Scott, Mark? Anybody else that's in Women in Black, if you put yourself in the chat. Yes. Ronnie says Toronto has a weekly vigil. I'm afraid that perhaps we have lost Ruth. I know Ryan's working on it, but we may not be able to get her back.
For
Okay,
some reason, it's not working. Elizabeth, although we tried
Yes.
twice. Yes, Elizabeth.
Yes, I'm a member of the, am I?
Elizabeth, you are on mute. Could you please unmute?
Okay, I think I am unmuted. I should show up in the,
you're there, go ahead.
okay, there I am. Yes, I am a faithful member of the, we don't call ourselves Women in Black, but the vigil in Toronto. We do it every Friday. Well, not during the COVID, but for 20 years almost, I think. Friday 5 to 6 in front of the Israeli consulate. They moved a year or so ago, and so did we. We are now at Young and Bloor. And I have to say that over the years, well, we still get the occasional Zionist who comes by. We have a policy, which we do not always observe, of not engaging with these people because they're idiots and they're nasty. But occasionally one who says, oh, you're crazy, you don't know any history. But for the most part, both the people on foot who pass by, and there are a lot of them, and the cars are supportive. So I should say we have seen a change in public opinion over 20 years. And yes, we hand out a leaflet every week, which is usually put together by Sue Goldstein and Chandler Davis. Chandler is 90 plus, and he's stopped for the most part. His wife doesn't let him come to the vigils, and she's quite right. I am not a grandmother, but I'm old enough to be one if I had children.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Now, Ryan, oh, we have Aliyah. Great. I think she might not be able to see her.
No, we see her, but Mark, could you merge both her account with the phone? Aliyah, can you hear us?
Yes, I hear you.
Perfect. Welcome.
Just a minute, I will unmute.
I think you're already unmuted. You just go ahead.
Yes, go ahead, Aliyah.
It's my turn to talk.
Yes,
sure,
yes.
Tell us what you've been doing.
Thank you. Okay, I want to say that I joined Women in Black in 1990. I lived in a rural community that north of Tel Aviv, so I joined the group that stood at the junction to two cities, Ra'anana and Kfar Saba. And we had some difficulties there. There was a man who came with a group of teenagers who were on the opposite side from us. That is, they were on the same side of the street, but the opposite ideas. And they stood with signs, and once they got behind us, there were trees and bushes behind us, and we left our bag of hands and stuff there, and they took it and they dumped them all out in among the bushes, and that was difficult for us. We had to go looking for them. But in 1992, my husband and I sold our farm and we moved to Tel Aviv, and since then I've been with the Tel Aviv group. Now in Tel Aviv, we stand on a very busy boulevard that connects with with a major street, King George, and a lot of people come by on Friday, and we get a very varied set of responses. There are those who call us nasty names. There are those who simply ignore us. There are those who give us a thumbs up. There are those people who stop to argue with us, and we do talk to people. We try to talk about what we think and what we believe in. And there is one very religious man. By his dress and by his conduct, you can tell that he is very religious, Jewish religious, and he stops and he blesses us, and he says, I don't think the way you do, but I bless you for being steadfast in what you believe. And he is really so nice. It is, he's something. He's really, really nice. And that was a surprise, but now he comes about once every few weeks. He seems to go shopping in the area, and he comes by. This is one of our hands. Do you see? It says, stop the occupation. And I happen to have one in my house, which I will hand over. With the coronavirus, for some time, we didn't meet at all. And now I haven't been, the women have begun meeting, but I have stayed away because I'm afraid of the public transportation is mobbed on Friday. Where we stand is near a major mall, shopping mall, Dizengoff Center. And on Friday, all of the buses and the bus stops are mobbed, and I'm afraid. But I hope that I can get back to the group as soon as possible.
Great. Thank you very much, Aliyah. I think we have
You're
Ruth.
welcome.
I think we have Ruth now as well.
Oh, good.
If she would like to talk.
Ruth was one of the originals.
Is she? Okay, well.
Yes, yes.
She's going to show up here. Okay.
Can I add?
Yes, you go ahead for a minute because Ruth.
Can I add something?
Sure.
I wanted to say that also on Friday at the hour that we stand 1 to 2, the children get out of school a little early on Friday because it's Erev Shabbat, before the Shabbat, and and quite a number of teenagers come by also. They don't learn anything about the occupation at school. And quite a few times they've stopped and talked with us, and that's really good because we have a chance to tell them what is going on and what we think as clearly as we can possibly do it and not take a long time. But talking to teenagers who are listening to us is really nice.
That's very encouraging to hear that you have that opportunity to talk to teenagers. Now, I think
Yes.
we do have Ruth ready to speak. Let's see that
Okay.
one. Thank you, Aliyah.
You're welcome.
Can anybody hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Great.
Oh, great. Oh. I
It's frustrating, isn't it?
I was so excited that my legs were moving around, and it took out one of the things, you know. Anyway, so I have to cool down now. Okay.
Yes.
Good. I don't quite know what Aliyah told you, but I'm sure we're on the same side. Now, I was one of the people. We were 10 people that started. And why did we start Women in Black? A very simple reason, that all the other groups were male-oriented. It was always the big boss and all the people, and the women were sort of, you know, there, but we didn't really exist. And we got sick of it, so we decided to have an all-women's group. Okay? I mean, I'm a feminist. Anyway, we started 32 years ago, and actually a little before that, because we went around a lot of places. We wanted to see a place that will be safe if we're attacked, because we expected to be attacked, and we were. And we found this circle, which is sort of a very large circle, and a lot of roads coming out of it. So I call it the circle within the square. And it then had two levels. It had the bottom, and within it there was a thing on the top where the woman stood. We were then about 100 women, and we stood at the top. And if men wanted to join us, they stood at the bottom circle. You know, now it's different, of course. They've also taken it away. There's only one level now. And we have in Jerusalem, we have these hands that each hand has in different language and the occupation. So we have it, I can't hear you.
Ruth, I just wonder if you could adjust your screen a little, because mostly we're seeing the top of your head.
Oh.
Or is your daughter there with you? That's better. That's an improvement.
I'm right up in the corner. I can't really see
Right there. Okay, good. Thank you. Go ahead. I'm sorry to interrupt.
Okay, fine. I mean, I need to be seen. Anyway, so we started off by really deciding that we don't care who we are. We didn't ask the women whether they're religious or non-religious or right. Well, no, obviously they're not right-wing, but what they want. Basically, we all wanted two states for two peoples. And we were about 100 women. Can you really hear me?
Yes, yes.
Good. 100 women there, and we sometimes there's a group of musicians that sometimes join in different left-wing or anti-occupation happenings, and they sometimes come. Now, I suppose Aliyah talked to you about some people are very much against us. You know, we're standing there. And in Jerusalem, we have on one of the pavements, a right-wing meeting, where they want to kill us, they want to do all sorts of nice things to us, but they're very much there. I think they're called the Women in Green, but I'm not sure.
Oh,
And there is a group, Women in Green, I know, that are very much anti-us. So it's very, very good because the cars pass, and many of them give their expressions of their feelings. Either they put out their hands with a thumb down, or if they're for us, with a thumb up, and sometimes they curse us. But the interesting thing, it's in 3 parts. Women in Black has 3 parts. The first part were 100 women, and all the cars were passing, and the people were passing on foot, and saying to us, "Go home, it's Friday. Your children, you need to make Shabbat food. It's Friday, what are you doing here? Well, it's not for women." So, we just took that, but we couldn't do much about it. Also, at the beginning, the police were there to make sure that nothing happens. Now, those at that time, when they were at the beginning, they were telling us that go home and this and this and this, until the Oslo Agreement. When the Oslo Agreement came, unfortunately, a lot of us felt, oh, well, we're now leaving to the big bosses. We're going to have 2 states to 2 people. A few of us continued. I was one of them that continued. But the majority went away. They didn't think that they were needed anymore. And gradually, but one of the important things, even though we were a few, it was important that we stayed there, because there in Jerusalem, we had a lot of overseas visitors. People that came especially just for us, but came as part of the program to see Women in Black. Also, later on, we had an international meeting of Women in Black in Jerusalem, but that's a one-time happening. So until the corona, there was quite a lot of violence. There were, men or even young boys would try to grab our flags, or our hands rather. And quite a few, there was one man who was absolutely horrible, and he was cursing us until in the end, after many years of it, he actually was arrested and told he's not to come near us. When the corona started, of course, then our numbers went down again. I was ill at one time, but then I started going back again. But a lot of us don't go. We're in contact, telephone, but they don't want to endanger themselves with corona. Right. We are older women. Unfortunately, the youngsters, the younger women, there are so many other groups now, which is marvelous. But we can't sort of be considered to be the really important ones now, excepting when the overseas people come and talk to us. Also, a lot of youngsters talk to us. Sometimes religious people talk to us, and we ask why do we stand there? It all belongs to Israel, and etc., etc. So there's some decent conversations. Excuse me, I'm getting hoarse.
So maybe I could ask each of you a question. Some questions have come up. And the first question was, before you started being part of Women in Black, what did you think about the occupation then? Were you supportive of the occupation before? And if you were, what made you change your minds? And either of you, we'd like to hear what you have to say about that.
Well, I'm already going, so I'll go and then we'll leave. Okay? Yeah?
I'm sorry, Ruth, did you say let Aliyah talk?
No, I said I will talk.
You'll
I'll go.
talk.
Yeah, okay. First of all, can you see me?
Yes?
Oh, because here I can see the word Zoom, nothing else. Can you hear me?
Yes?
Good.
Keep
Then I'll
going.
I've always been of the left. I come from a religious home that was in England, in London especially, to be religious and to be socialist was very, very accepted. So I stopped being religious at about 17, but I went on being socialist, communist, whichever you want to call it. I came to Israel. I very much believed in, after everything we went through, that we should have a state of our own, but it was a state of human beings, not of what has become now. So I came in 54, and I was very much against the occupation when it came, and I've never been pro-occupation. I was abroad for several years in the 60s, learning sculpture and painting and social work, which is my main subject. And I came back on the 1st of January, 1970, straight into the anti-occupation movement. So there's been no question for me. And that's I would go on until I die, or until the occupation is ended.
Well, we hope the occupation ending comes first. Aliyah, what about you?
But I'm not sure.
Aliyah,
What is the question?
did you at one point support the occupation and then you changed your mind, or have you always?
Only at the very, very beginning. In June 1967, it was so exciting to be able to go to Jerusalem, to the old city. My husband was a tour guide, and he started doing in 67. He wasn't yet a tour guide. He started doing the course in 67, and he was continuing, and he took me and the girls, we have daughters, to lots of places. Oh, it was so exciting. But when I realized what was happening to the Palestinians, I completely changed my attitude, and I no longer felt the exhilaration of going to the old city or to other parts. And I also joined in the 80s. I joined a group that was of Jews and Arabs, all Israelis here in Israel. It was called Bridge to Peace and Coexistence. And it was in this group that I began to see things differently.
So that's very interesting. Now, it must take a lot of motivation for you to keep up the commitment you have. I'm wondering what strengthens your motivation. Yes, and also I'm wondering, what about your families? What do they feel about what you're doing?
My daughters are mostly along my line of thinking. They have not been active in any groups like I am, but they do agree with my point of view. My grandsons, it's a mixed, some agree with me and some, one grandson is definitely on the right. It's a mixture in our family, somewhat of a mixture. I wanted to say something. Now I forgot.
It went out of your mind, did it?
Oh, yeah. At the time that I joined this group, Bridge to Peace, I was living in the rural community. We had a farm there, and the meetings of Bridge to Peace were at various houses, either Jewish places or Arab places. And one of the meetings was in an Arab village, which was directly east of my rural community. And I was quite new then to the group, and one of the older Arab members came to talk to me and welcomed me to the group. And I said, well, you know, we're neighbors. I live in Bnei Zion. And he said, ah, yes, on my uncle's land. And that was like a punch in the stomach. It had never occurred to me that the land that I was living on had belonged to other people.
Right, right. That would
to
be
the
a very
Palestinians.
moment for you. One last question, because I know that.
Oh, I just wanted to add one more thing. You said that some people ask me, you've been active all these years and standing in Women in Black, and what have you accomplished? Aren't you disillusioned? And my answer is, will I feel better if I just sit at home?
I love that. I love that.
Okay.
The one last question is for each of you. What do you think about the Nakba? What do you think about the Palestinian refugees and their desire to return?
Oh, wow.
Big questions, right?
Yes, very, very big question. My short answer is there must be negotiations between Israel and the Palestinians. We cannot reach any kind of decision without honest negotiations between the two groups, between the two peoples,
right,
between the leaders of the two peoples. That's my answer.
That's your answer. Ruth, what would you have to say to that?
Could you repeat the question?
It was about what you think about the Nakba and
Yeah.
the refugees' desire to return.
Well, you know, what can I think about it? I think it's criminal what is done. I mean, there's no, but you know what? The same as Aliyah. I first came to Israel to a kibbutz, a left-wing kibbutz, Hashemet Seir. And at some point, after a year or two, I didn't even think about it, where, you know, who lived there before. And I wandered around and I saw must have been a village that had been destroyed. I came back and asked, and they said, yes, this is the land of that village. I said, but how can we be here? Because we're supposed to be left wing. And he said, yes, but we need a place that is ours. So I thought about it and then said, okay, but we're going to have 2 states for 2 people. Some will move this way and some will move that way. It's terrible, but that's what's going to happen. Now, it hasn't happened. And the people in Gaza and everything is so horrible that I just, you know, I can't say I don't think about it. I think about it all the time. But it just the point is that, you know, what does one do anything, or does one say, oh, well, you know, give up? I can't give up. I just refuse to give up. And everybody, my daughter says, you know, all your friends are all left-wing, but they divide by their normal life, the everyday life, and the politics. I can't. For me, it's just one thing. And I only have one daughter. Believe it or not, she lives in a settlement, and which obviously is tragedy. But she says, I live there. She lives there for economic reasons. To live there is half the price of renting a place in Jerusalem. And she said, I tell everybody that I am left-wing, I vote for merits, and the minute that we can afford to get out of the settlement, we will get out of it. It's not one of the bad ones. There are good ones and bad ones, apparently. And this is known as a peace-loving settlement. There apparently, I don't know. I won't go there, obviously. I wouldn't tread on the land there, but c'est ça.
So I think that Aliyah has to leave right now, and I want to say before she leaves, if I can, thank you to both
I
of you.
have another very important group to go to, and they're waiting for me. And thank you very much for this meeting. I really appreciate it. Thank you for all the trouble you've gone through to connect us and to connect to me. And I will look at the video when it's online. Okay.
Yes, and thank you for your very great witness to all of us. You are an inspiration, so thank you very much. And,
thank you very much.
Okay.
And goodbye to everyone and to all the people around, all the women in black from around the world who have talked. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you. So I want to thank everyone for their questions and for the insightful responses that we've had from Ruth and Aliyah. It's so interesting to get a window into your lives and the way that you are working for justice. Now we'd like to move on to a prayer. Lord Jesus, you turn to speak to the weeping women in Jerusalem as you walk to your death. We pray for the women who weep and stand in protest over the injustices of the Israeli occupation of Palestine. Lord, in your mercy, hear our prayer. Amen.
Amen.
So Ryan, or Mark, should I just go into the ending now? Thank you for your great questions. Thank you, Ruth and Aliyah, for your answers. It's great for us to learn about women under occupation and how that affects women and families in Palestine. We at Kumi Now believe that knowledge is just the beginning. The reason that Kumi Now exists is to empower people to act on their knowledge. And I think these two women today have been great models for acting and not stopping. With this in mind, we've created a single advocacy action that anyone around the globe can participate in. It will be posted in the chat and is available on the website. And so this is what we'd like you to do this week. Join or start a vigil. You can find out if a vigil is operating close to you by visiting the Women in Black site. If a Woman in Black vigil isn't operating in your area, you can start your own. Follow the link shared in the chat to learn more about the general guidelines to start a Women in Black vigil. Coordinate with your local Kumi community to publicize when and where your vigil will be. My understanding is that this time some vigils are being held online because of the difficulty of the pandemic, so we can be creative. If you live in an area where starting a vigil isn't possible right now, you can start with an online vigil, getting people to change their profile pictures and tweet, call, chat, and post information to Twitter at the same time each week. Then when the time comes to return to the streets, you'll have a community to start with. Take a picture of your vigil and share it on social media. Include a link to this page of the Kumi Now website, along with the hashtags Women in Black, Kumi Now, and Kumi41. If you are unable to join or host a vigil, spend 1 hour at a public corner to protest the occupation and in solidarity with the vigils happening around the world. Ruth, do you have any thoughts about the Kumi Action or other ways that people watching the session can apply what they've learned today?
Well, as the Kumi Action is completely new to me, I'm not sure of the details of the action.
Right.
So if any of who we are, what we do, it can be useful, I'll be very, very, very happy. One thing I would like to say, I said that for me to divide between life and politics is impossible. So I've got some lovely clothes, but I don't wear my clothes unless it has a political comment. If you can see this, I was.
Oh, look at that.
It says in English, in Hebrew and in Arabic, we're standing together.
Ah, so all your clothes have a political comment.
Most of those I wear. Those I don't wear don't have political comment. And I get some very interesting, both negative and positive, even positive comments.
Very good. That's an action anybody can do, right?
Yes. My favorite one is hatred is not an opinion, it is a crime.
Hatred is not an opinion, it's a crime.
Racism is not an opinion, it is a crime. Like this.
Aha, there you go.
Like that.
Okay, thank you so much for being with us today, both Ruth and Aliyah and everyone on the call.
And thank
Next
you.
week, we will be celebrating Palestinian arts and culture by watching short films from young Palestinian women filmmakers from Shashat Women's Cinema and talking to some of those young women filmmakers. And that will be a special time. So we hope you could join.
I would be
First of our August gatherings, and you can register for it, along with sessions for the Defense for Children Palestine, Churches for Middle East Peace, and Dar al-Khalima University College of Arts and Culture. Lots is going on. You can register at Kumi Now online. Those sessions will cover the topics of youth detention, annexation, living in Gaza under blockade, and art as a form of resistance. Finally, if you like what you've seen today, we'd greatly appreciate it if you help spread the word to friends and family, classes and church groups, and online through social media. Let the world know what great things we're doing here. Now we've reached the formal end of the meeting, but if you'd like to hang around, our guests have offered to answer questions. Can you still stay, Ruth?
Yeah, sure. I'm at home.
And chat. We know people have a lot of other online meetings and responsibilities, so please don't feel obligated to hang around. We'll also be saying goodbye to anyone watching on the Facebook at this time. Thank you. And remember that together we can rise up for Palestine.
Right.